With your CIGTV News Update, I'm Jay Earhart in for Donna Bush. In our top story, CIGTV looks at the new provisions for the conditional release of prisoners who have served most of their sentences. The conditional release law and regulations, which took effect last Friday, aim to reduce the rate of reoffending and the size of the local prison population. This is considered vital in the Cayman Islands, where nearly 3/4 of prisoners on release reoffend. It also compares to about a 60% rate in the United States and the rest of the Caribbean. Strategic advisor to the Deputy Governor, Mr. Peter Goff, notes that under the previous scheme, prisoners had been eligible for early release after serving 1/3 to half of their sentences.
That means that early date of release scheme is being scrapped, because that meant that, as I said earlier, that after 2/3 of their sentence, a person could walk out of prison regardless of the risk to society. That's no longer the case. Every prisoner that comes out on conditional release will be on a license, and that license will last to the end of their sentence. So if someone is sentenced to 10 years in prison, they will be eligible for conditional release after 6 years. And then they will then be under license for a further 4 years. So the prisoner will be supported in the community for 4 years, where he will be having to be under the monitoring of a probation officer.
The new law requires all prisoners to serve 60% of their sentence. You'll be able to hear more about the conditional release law from members of the rehabilitation community on future editions of CIGTV News. In other news, the Minister of Employment and Labor and the Department of Labor and Pensions are continuing to discuss the implications of the minimum wage order set to take effect across the island on March 1st. Employment Minister, the Honorable Tara Rivers, says evidence showed substantial numbers of Caymanians and residents would benefit from the new scheme.
We are made to understand that about 6,000 people will be positively impacted by the introduction of a minimum wage, and about 25% of those are actually Caymanians. So this is definitely a step in the right direction in order to try to address, as we said, some of the worst cases of exploitation which we know currently exists in the market. And so the government is taking that positive step to make sure that everybody is in a better position to live and work here in the Cayman Islands.
The Department of Labor and Pensions Director, Bernard Ebanks, outlines the variations in the minimum's basic wage, which will extend to each category of worker.
The National Minimum Basic Wage Order, which comes into effect on the 1st of March 2016, provides for a national basic minimum wage of $6 per hour gross for most employees. For service industry employees whose employers have a registered and approved scheme of distribution for gratuities, the national minimum basic wage would be $4.50 per hour. There's also special considerations for domestic employees who live within a private household and for those workers who work by commission.
Director Ebanks stresses that the entitlements outlined in the law will extend to all workers in all 3 Cayman Islands.
The most important thing for employees and employers to bear in mind is that the national minimum basic wage is guaranteed by law, and it can't be changed by an individual or a collective agreement. That is the minimum standard that it applies, so it has to be adhered to in accordance with the law.
Comprehensive information about the national minimum wage is available at the website education.gov.ky and npo.gov.ky. You can also call the department for information, 945-8960, as well as the confidential tip line, which is 945-3073. In our final story, John Gray High School students had an inspirational afternoon. The world-renowned swimming coach Bailey Weathers gave a motivational talk to years 9 to 11 students as part of the Career Activities Week at the John Gray High School. Mr. Weather, who is the current technical director of the Cayman Islands Amateur Swimming Association, most recently worked with American swimmer Allison Schmidt. Ms. Schmidt won 5 medals, 3 of them gold at the London Olympics in 2012. The former athletic director of Grace College in Indiana, Mr. Weathers shared his knowledge and expertise with pupils aspiring to become successful student athletes.
So often students really feel like the college selection process is out of their control and it's just going to happen. But the reality of it is they need to really work if they want to be competing at collegiate level in the US or Canada, the UK. It's not just going to happen for them. They need to be involved. They need to be involved early and to use the opportunities.
Young people also heard from Mr. Weather about the different pathways towards applying for colleges overseas and how to best make applications for particular programs. Well, as always, if you missed today's news update, you can get all of the details on our Facebook and YouTube pages. And of course, don't forget to tune in to Radio Cayman, For the Record, and Talk Today shows, which are always packed full of exciting guests. I'm EHRHART. Thanks for watching.